Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show here on WKYC. We're here for the next 30 minutes. I'm Jay Crawford. Coming up on today's show, Shaun King is going to break down a couple of plays that clearly illustrates there is more offense to be had if Deshaun Watson's ready to take it. Jason.
I'm Jason Lloyd. Some of us feel really good about this game on Sunday. Some of us do not. We're going to talk about it with pre-written headlines. We'll tell you everything that happens before the game takes place. G.
I'm G. Bush, a.k.a. the Black Johnny Cash, and I will let you know whether or not this is a must-win game for the Cleveland Browns. McNuggets.
The Browns are underdogs, and I actually think, and Vegas trends will tell you, that's a pretty good position for the Browns to be in this week.
Small sample size, but yeah, it's right. So far, they've been okay as underdogs. Let's dive into the show. When you look at this Washington Commanders team, the story of the season has been their rookie quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner from LSU, Jayden Daniels. He is setting records at an unbelievable pace. He's completing well above 80% of his passes. It's really impossible to think that a rookie could be having this kind of success when you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who, although he's winning this year, has struggled statistically. He can also kill you with his legs. How do you stop this Washington offense?
Well, listen, Jay, you got to confuse them. And by the way, we talked about it on the YouTube show. Make sure you guys check that out. We talked about it. It's about tackling. It's about tackling in space. He's throwing that high of a percentage because he's throwing the ball underneath the sticks. Most of his yards are behind the line of scrimmage or within 1 or 2 yards, and they're letting their athletes get outside and counting on you to miss tackles. The Browns can't miss those tackles. Also, I'm counting on Jim Schwartz to cook up a game plan that's going to confuse Jayden Daniels. You know, rookies are rookies for a reason. Give them something that they haven't seen on tape. And if I'm going to rely on my fastball and I'm going to rely on what I'm doing best, I put Denzel Ward on their best receiver, Terry McLaurin, all around the field and tell him to beat him. I don't think he can. And I'm going to bring the heat. And when you bring the heat, you got to have lane integrity. You got to rush in the rush lanes. And you got to keep them in the pocket and collapse the pocket. I think that's how you confuse and slow down Jayden Daniels.
I'm with you on the last point. The Browns, the way to beat this Browns defense is play action and boot and roll the pocket outside. It's sort of the Achilles heel to the Jim Schwartz defense. If you keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket, I think that goes a long way in giving yourself a chance. And you're 100% right. As of last week, Washington led the league at and behind the line of scrimmage in passes. So a lot of his completions, and listen, he also is tremendously accurate down the field. I don't want to make it sound like that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
But the majority of what they do is the lateral. It's this and this and this. So you can run up high completion percentages, but you have to tackle in space and you have to get these guys down. You can't turn a 3-yard gain into a 12-yard first down because of a missed tackle at the line. If you can get them on the ground on those quick lateral passes, if you can keep them in 2nd and 8 rather than 2nd and 4, that makes a massive difference in the playbook.
It's crazy when you look at their season and what's happened. Nobody expected the Washington Commanders to be the class of the NFC East. So far, that's what they look like. They're 3-1. Their loss was to the Giants. But in that loss, they did something that hasn't been done in the NFL in more than 70 years. They scored 3 touchdowns.
They beat the Giants.
They beat the Giants 21-18. You're right. They gave up 18 points. Who was their loss to?
It was in week 1.
Oh, no. Was it?
Yeah, the Commanders lost week 1.
The Bucs beat them 37-20. My goodness. So since then, Jayden Daniels is undefeated.
They didn't punt at all against the Giants. They've punted like once in last.
Yeah, that was the game where the Giants scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, the Giants scored 3 touchdowns. The Commanders did not score. They had 7 field goals.
It's the only time in, 70 years that's happened in the NFL?
Yep. First time ever a team scored 3 touchdowns, did not allow a touchdown, and lost.
We talked about this on the YouTube show, and I'm going to use your line because it was so simple. But if you're making a defensive game plan, the one thing that the Browns haven't done this year, and it's cost them mightily, is they haven't been good tackling. They missed 20 tackles last week in the loss against the Raiders, a team playing without their best offensive player and best defensive player. They should have and could have won that game. I think the defensive game plan, and you also said in the YouTube show that you can't improve that in a week. I think you can stress that.
Yeah.
You can emphasize that. You know how some weeks when teams don't have turnovers, all of a sudden the D coordinator starts preaching, you got to take the ball away, you got to turn the ball over. You have to get takeaways. And then all of a sudden they do. I think that seed just has to be planted in the Browns' mind again. You cannot let 3-yard gains turn into 25-yard gains.
Yeah.
When you hit someone behind the line of scrimmage, it has to be a loss, not an 8-yard gain. We saw that against the Raiders a number of times. They had guys pinned up, hit behind the line of scrimmage. Next thing you know, it's 2nd and 2. Get them off schedule. Tackle, and I think that's the best defensive game plan you can have. Because if you try to take away his throwing lanes, he's going to run the ball. And if you try to stop him from running the ball, he's going to throw you. He's proven he can beat you either way, arms or legs. So I just think it's got to be fundamental football. And critical, you absolutely have to put Denzel Ward on Terry McLaurin. He's their best wide receiver. He is the guy that can hurt you. Denzel is the best cover guy we have. Jason, I know you've long said that in Jim Schwartz's offense, you have one side of the field, you have the other, and let's go. Well, the Redskins will do what the other teams have done. They'll find Denzel Ward, they'll motion their best receiver so they have him on Newsome or on Martin Emerson or someone other than Denzel Ward, and they'll beat you all day. And don't be too late to make that adjustment like they were against the Giants.
There's no bad thing. Listen, sometimes you got to make an adjustment. I know that's what you want to do in your defense, but you're at a desperate position right now. You're 1-3. You got to get it done. Put your best on their best, make it happen, and then gang tackle guys to the football. I need to see effort, second efforts, not just the first one, ball stone short, second efforts by a lot of people around the football.
Yeah.
Moving on, Jay, the Browns are about to play their 5th game of the season. The one time they've been underdogs this year, they won. They were 3-point underdogs against Jacksonville. The 3 times they've been favored this year, well, it hasn't ended pretty for Cleveland. They were 2-point favorites against Dallas. They were 6.5-point favorites against the Giants. And after the news of Max Crosby and Devontae Adams not playing, the line shifted from Vegas being a favorite to closing with the Browns being a favorite. The Browns are an underdog this week against Washington. 3.5-point dogs on the road. Is it fair to say this Browns team may be better suited playing as underdogs than favorites, or is it too early to make any kind of declarative statement?
I think it's too early. That's a small sample size. It's not like they played well in Jacksonville when they were the underdog.
This franchise has a history of when you don't expect anything out of them.
They do.
Is when they perform, and when you set expectations on them is when they can't meet them. So it sort of plays right into that.
It does.
When you have expectations is when they lose. When they're the dog is when they win. It's been like that really since Kevin Stefanski arrived, and certainly, I mean, they were so dreadful before that. I don't even know if you can count
the thing
that.
is, before they were a dog every week and they lost every week.
Yeah.
But you're right. It does seem like like Cincinnati and Cleveland is one of the hardest things for me to explain to people that I've seen in the NFL over the last 3 or 4 years. Cincinnati has been a very, very good football team. Yet Kevin Stefanski absolutely owns Joe Burrow. Owns him. And
Bull will argue with you on that.
Well, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, the results don't lie.
Yeah.
But I'm not ready to say, oh, they're an underdog. That means they're going to win.
Listen, I don't care if you call them underdog, overdog, side dog, whatever it is. They better get it done. They 1-3. I said it earlier. You're 1-3. You're mistaking. I know people want to seem reasonable when they say it's so early, G. Bush. Don't be hyperbole, guy. It's 1-4. Go check them statistics. You go 1-4 and you lose to a team that got a rookie quarterback, and you had all of these high hopes and different things that you thought you were going to get it done. We argued all offseason about whether or not the Browns are a Super Bowl contender, where they would finish in the AFC North. They were coming off a high in the season where they really did their thing. But then you look back and say, well, we've fallen off. We can't be talking in early October about draft season. And if you lose this week and look at the schedule coming up, you're going to be talking draft and Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. And no disrespect to the Cavs.
Hey, we still got
got the
Guardians.
Guardians.
But the
Still got
Guardians,
playoffs.
listen, there's only thing, that's our saving grace right now. Saturday for the, but listen, Sunday comes around, this is a must win. This is your season right here.
Boy, I know that we're going to talk about this, but how in the world could the season be over after week 5? But the teams that are 1-4, it is extremely rare. Bernie was in yesterday or Wednesday, and he told us that I think 16% of the teams that start 1-3 make the playoffs. That number drops significantly to 5%. 5% of the teams historically that start 1-4 come back to make the playoffs. And I know it feels awfully early to be asking this question, but I do think it's a fair question. Is the season over if they lose on Sunday?
Yeah. Like, come on. Like, look, at 1-4, you're talking about, okay, well, now, if you're 1-4, you got way more wrong than the quarterback. See, now you got to start dipping into other things like, well, did we have the right receiver? Are we running the right scheme? What the heck are we going to do with Ken Dorsey? Do we need a lineman with our first pick or a receiver?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to buy a receiver or get a receiver when you don't not know about the quarterback? That is the worst case scenario when you're talking about all of these things in October. It's just not a good look. And they have to be some – I'm going to find out. We're going to find out. I'm going to find out how desperate they want to be, how much Kevin Stefanski is on his guys in turnovers. Jim Schwartz is going to make adjustments. I need fight and fire. We talked about it before. We've been watching these other teams play. I know the world saw, last night, the Falcons versus the Buccaneers. Those guys, win or lose, played their tail off. I'm talking about flying to the football, playing to the last snap, the last moment. And people in Cleveland want to see that. We don't want to see you go out to Washington, Jason, and look around and lose to some rookie quarterback and not show no fight.
Yeah, Mike loves to throw out must-win game. Is this a must-win game?
He does.
And usually I say it's not a must-win game until it's an elimination game. But realistically, this really does feel like a must-win. Here's the thing about if you start 1-4. If you're 1-4, you got to have a stretch somewhere in the schedule where you're going to win like 5 straight.
Yeah.
Where in this is the easy
that?
part of the
Yeah.
schedule. There's one straight. They go Chargers, Saints, Steelers, Broncos, Steelers. Are they going to win all 5 of those games? Are they going to beat the Steelers twice? I have a hard time seeing that. And that's really the hard part is it impossible? No, it's not impossible to come back from 1-4 and make the playoffs. But show me in the schedule where they're going to win 4 straight, 5 straight. And I just don't see it because the schedule is so backloaded. When you get to December, forget it. So,
Right.
So where is this stretch where they're going to make up this ground? And that's why we talked about it on YouTube. It may not seem like a lot. The difference between 1-4 and 2-3 is massive.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
there's too much talent on this team. I don't believe this is a 1-4 football team. There's too much talent, too many veterans. The coaching staff is too good of a coaching staff. I still believe in that. This is not a 1-4 team. So I just don't believe they're going to lose this game because I just don't think it's not a 1-4 team.
Yeah, you don't believe they're going to lose it, but if they lose it,
it's over.
it's over. So it's a must-win for both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be the voice of dissent. It's not a must-win, but it's as close to a must-win in Week 5 as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Consider this. When the division play starts,
Right.
when have the Browns been eliminated before division play starts? But to your point, Jay, if you lose, the best you can do and still make the playoffs, you got to go 9-3 over the last 12. Now, I don't think the schedule sets up very well for that, but I also think that this team, when they get Chubb back and Njoku and start hitting on all their cylinders, they could go 9-3 over their last 12.
You also probably have to go 5-1 in the division.
That's what
You
I'm
do
saying.
have to go 5-1 in division. That was going to be my next point.
Yeah.
My next point is you're only losing 1 of your 3 divisional games on the road.
That's wild.
And so it's not impossible.
You do know you got the Chiefs at the end of the
I
year.
understand all that. But hopefully by then the Chiefs have all the things that they want to have accomplished and Patrick Mahomes is in street clothes.
We like to be split down the middle here. So we had 2 in Jason and G who said it's a must-win. Jay, you wouldn't go that far, so I'll join you, Jay.
Okay.
I'm not going to call it a must-win. I'm going to call it a can't lose. That's how I'm going to look at this. Just so we're two right down the
So your
middle.
glass is half full, but it's also half empty.
Exactly.
Can
I like that.
Can we make you guys go down the schedule and pick the wins they're going to get to that 9
Now,
wins?
here's the thing with that. Here's why playing the schedule game is silly.
Who would have ever thought
If we would have played
Washington-
the schedule game, we had Washington as the easiest of the 5 opponents.
Facts.
They're the most difficult.
Yeah. Facts.
We did not have this team 1-3
And
coming into Washington.
You never know how injuries are going to look. But as we sit here today, I have a hard time finding a stretch where they're going to win 5 straight. And I think if you lose this game, you got to win 5 straight. You got to find somewhere.
I will say this: if they lose this, everything from there on out, the next 12 are must-wins.
I don't know if they've won 5 straight under Kevin Stefanski.
Probably not.
I don't think they have.
We're taking a break. We'll look that up. We're taking a break. When we come back, this is awesome stuff. Deshaun Watson is leaving plays on the field. Shaun King once played at a very high level in the NFL. He goes in depth with a tape breakdown that you must watch. Next. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. This is fast becoming my favorite part of the show. Shaun King, former NFL quarterback, breaking down plays from Deshaun Watson. Here's this week's version.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation there in Cleveland, and a lot has been talked about. Who's calling the plays? Is it Ken Dorsey? Is it Kevin Stefanski? Of course it's Stefanski, but who's designing the offense? Listen, the quarterback's mind and movements have to match. When you're an expert at a system, your muscle memory kicks in. So we can rewind this just to the beginning one time here, Mike. I want you to see Amari Cooper, who's the second read on this play. Watch him slip inside the back of Deshaun after not liking the initial read to Judy, should be right here delivering this ball to Amari Cooper. If his mind and his movements are matching, he makes this throw 10 out of 10 times. And the reason I'm bringing this up is something that happened multiple times in the game where his muscle memory is not getting him through his progressions in the right way. Look, Amari's the second read right there. That ball should be coming out to Amari 10 out of 10 times for what potentially could be a big play. Is it just Deshaun not knowing the system, or is it the fact that he's hearing two things, one from Ken Dorsey, another from Kevin Stefanski? And if you're a Browns fan, you know, I talk all the time on these videos about him not throwing the ball with anticipation and in rhythm, not really trusting the route packages and the receivers. But this is evidence that when he does, he can actually be an elite quarterback in this league. If you want to roll it here, look, I want you to watch the footwork first. 1, 2, 3, hitch. Now he's throwing. Remember a couple weeks ago, he took an extra hitch. He was late to Mari one time, late to Judy. That ball is right on rhythm. That's a tight window. He's anticipating where Elijah Moore is going to be. Great from here. If you stop it right there, look, that is tremendous. That's under duress. That's pressure. He doesn't blink. The ball's out on time. It's accurately thrown, and there's nothing the Raiders can do about it. This is when Deshaun Watson is at his best. He just got to consistently put this on the tape more often. Like, make your layups. Another thing you'll hear me talk more and more, because I do think there's a disconnect between what the Browns want to do offensively. Does Stefanski and Dorsey speak? Do they speak the same language? Obviously, it doesn't seem like Deshaun is interpreting it properly because his mind and his movements don't match. This has to be an automatic completion 10 out of 10 times on a good offense. If you can roll it here, Deshaun is reading to the 3-man surface. That's up top. He doesn't like it. His check down is Amari Cooper. I mean, good God, I can coach a JV high school team right there. That ball's got to go to Amari Cooper 10 out of 10 times for a completion. Get the drive started. Let's get rolling. For some reason, Deshaun's footwork is all wrong. He's in between Amari and Ford. See it better here. First read, second read, boom. That ball's got to go to Amari 10 out of 10 times. His mind and his movements aren't matching, which makes me feel like the messaging is not getting communicated properly. Maybe this is something the Browns got to look at. Who's calling plays? Is it getting to Deshaun clearly and concisely so that he can create the muscle memory to sustain himself during games? This should be an easy completion to Amari. Lord, baby, Jesus. Woo! Man, Deshaun had a chance to be a hero right here. Oh, remember I talked about this in some of the other clips. Mind and movements have to match. This should be a auto touchdown to Jerry Jeudy 10 out of 10 times. Amari's coming across. I think Amari mentioned he ran the wrong route. Atkins is the primary receiver on the corner ball. So if we can roll it from here, before we roll it, I want you to look at number 20. He's very important in this read. He's going to vacate the middle of the field in order to double the corner route. So what should the quarterback do if there's no safety in the middle of the field? If you have a route that's run to the middle of the field, get to it. Oh, this is so frustrating. Okay, we can roll it from here. But just watch the Raiders safety here and what he does. Once Deshaun sees that, his mind and his movements have to send him back to Jerry Jeudy. You'll be able to see it from the end zone view. And I'll tell you when to pause it here. Okay, he goes front side. Stop it here. Instead of pumping, he's got to get back to the middle of the field here to Jeudy, who's wide open where the safety's vacating. He's running right to that area. So I'm telling you, they're not completely on the same page there in Cleveland. If we rewind this just a little bit so the viewers can get a better look at this so they understand what I mean. Pause it right there. So when people talk progressions, that means that as I'm making my drop, I'm going through my progressions as to where I want to throw the ball. The first thing the quarterback should see here is, what does 20 do? So play it just a little bit. Once 20 decides to vacate, I should get back weak and find Jeudy here for the easy touchdown, and the Browns win the game. And I think some of this is on Deshaun. I think some of this is there might be some miscommunication between what he's getting from Ken Dorsey, Kevin Stefanski. I don't know what they're doing in game planning, but everybody doesn't seem to be on the same page. Man, they left some points on the board in this game.
Wow, that's really well done. On one hand, it's optimistic because it's there.
It's there.
But on another hand, we're talking about week 4 in his now 3rd year and in Cleveland, and that's not a play a veteran can miss.
At what point, I love Shaun's breakdowns. He's so
incredible.
good at this. And when he's talking about like too many voices in his head, the only thing I would push back on that is they've already changed the offense once for Deshaun.
Yeah.
At what point does this just become on the player has to make plays? You're the quarterback. Make the play. Make the play.
No, I agree.
So the whole idea of, and I know you guys were saying earlier
they're running
about
what he wants to run.
That's my point. You already overhauled this offense once to give him what he wants, and now we're still going to blame everybody else but the quarterback. At some point, see the play, make the play. These guys they're open. Make the play.
Look, I'll tell you this. There's plays that there needs to be made out there. Like when he's mentioning that, he's showing the progressions. Those are the plays that you got to hit. Those are the plays that you, like he said, make your layups. Also, I think during time periods, you got to have guys that are going to make the plays around him as well. If you don't have a holding penalty, we're not in that position.
Oh no, yeah, it's not just him. There are other guys too.
But what you're saying is, it's like you're asking him because of who we know and we think he is. Even if there's a penalty and certain things happen like that and it gets taken back,
overcome it.
There's opportunity for you to hit another play.
All the mistakes that were made in that game, if he makes that play, he erases everything, and that's what great quarterbacks do.
I don't want to hear about that holding penalty. Losers complain about penalties.
Yeah, you're right.
Winners win the game.
Yep.
They still had possession, and they got the ball. There was 10 minutes left in the game on that hold. They got the ball back again. You know what they did? 3 and out.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about the hold.
We got a break. Pre-written headlines on the other side. Welcome back. Who wins on Sunday? Pre-written headlines. Jason, you're up.
For everyone who thinks I don't like Deshaun, here you go. This is the week that they get it done. Commander and thief.
Ooh.
Watson and Brown steal a 2017 win with a late game winning touchdown drive.
Wow, we are in the opposite ends of the spectrum. I just don't see it happening. Here's my headline. I'd love it to be different, and it doesn't mean I hate the Browns, but misery continues in Washington. Guys, I don't think it's close.
Woo-hoo.
I got a 30-13 Washington victory.
Oh, boy.
Listen, we got to rethink some things on UCSS, dog. We might be talking about the dog show coming up here at the convention center. I got the Browns in a desperation. DW4 is finally the reason Browns win. Watson drops 250 yards. 250 yards is almost a new 350 in this world. In a road win, I think they get it done, McNuggets.
Gee, I'm right there with you. I think it's a big game for Deshaun. How about remember me? DW4's deep bombs buried the Commanders as Browns finally crawl out of the NFL's basement. 3 out of 4 of us picking the Browns. Jay, you're the lone pick for the
Listen, I
Commanders.
hope like crazy that I am wrong. We're going to find out on Sunday. Don't forget to watch the Browns postgame show on the UCSS YouTube channel. We're back Monday to wrap it all up. Have a great weekend. Go Guardians. Go Browns.